artistic vision then becomes very clear, because unless you're clear in your mind that you want to go in a particular way, then you can't execute it. So when you have exposure to many art forms, I feel it's got its good and its bad side. If I really speak in a language that is not recognizable to you as Odia, does it really make sense? Then why do you call it Odia? It's difficult to create a Rasika because day in and day out they are seeing something which gives them a hit. But dance is not like that, no?
नमस्कार, ମୋ ନାଁ ପ୍ରୀତିଶା ମହାପାତ୍ର ଆଉ ଏଠାରେ ଆମ ସାଙ୍ଗେ ଉପସ୍ଥିତ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଟେମ୍ପଲ ଅଫ ଫାଇନ୍ ଆର୍ଟସ୍ କୋଏମ୍ବତୁରରୁ ହେଡ୍ ଅଫ ଫ୍ୟାକଲ୍ଟି ଫର ଓଡିସି ଡାନ୍ସ ମିସେସ୍ ଚିନ୍ମୟୀ ଦ୍ୱାରକନାଥ। ନମସ୍କାର। ଆଉ ଆମେ ଆଜି ଏଠାରେ ତାଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଓଡ଼ିଶୀ ନୃତ୍ୟ ଉପରେ କିଛିଟା ଚର୍ଚ୍ଚା କରିବା, ତାଙ୍କ ବକ୍ତବ୍ୟ ଜାଣିବା। ତ ଚିନ୍ମୟୀ जी, we have few questions for you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to answering them.
Yeah, and we would like to know your perspective regarding your experience in this field for so many years. So, can we start?
Definitely.
Yes.
I hope I'll answer the best I can.
Okay, the first question.
Yes.
Odissi has evolved through centuries of devotion, scholarship, and artistic refinement. How do you personally define the soul of Odissi dance today?
I think a lot of the answers lie in the question itself, like what you have mentioned. I think it's devotion, scholarship, and what's the last one?
Artistic refinement.
Artistic refinement. So, like since you have mentioned this word personally, I think it's not really possible to give a textbook definition for what is the soul of Odissi. Like how Odissi is the macrocosm and me being a practitioner, I'm a microcosm. In my personal opinion, what has drawn me to Odissi and what still keeps me connected to my definition of Odissi is this idea of balance. You know, we see very famously the balance between dynamism and elegance in Ardhanarishwara. The same contrast, or would you say complementary characteristics, are also seen in Chauka Tribangi. So I think each one of us, we are trying to internally regulate ourselves in today's society, where, you know, sometimes as women, we are forced to be so masculine. So I think I personally, because I've also learned many years of Bharatanatyam, and I'm very much personally in love with it, I think what draws me to my vision of soul of Odissi is the balance between being dynamic and at the same time being soft and fluid. So this, I think this balance, which I feel in almost every item, when you dance a Pallavi, same time there has to be dynamism, which we see in the end. But when you look at the Alap in the entry, there's always a grace and elegance. So to me, the soul of Odissi is both dynamic and elegant, soft and fluid. And like what you have mentioned, there is an artistic kind of expression that is possible, not only through pure dance movements, but also expressive dance. So for me, the soul of Odissi is definitely connected to God. I know there's a lot of talk about being secular, but for me, Odissi, if you remove the bhakti, because in every Mangalacharan there is an invocation to Lord Jagannath, then there is a connection to Shastra, which for me is not a boundary that I don't like, but a connection to all practitioners across centuries. And then there is an artistic refinement, which is the word I think I would be comfortable using is aesthetics. So it's a very deeply layered soul of Odissi, but something that I still am enjoying exploring.
Wow. So the second question, as a senior practitioner, how do you view the balance between classical purity and contemporary interpretation in Odissi choreography?
Okay, in this question, this word senior practitioner, it makes one a bit nervous, but I think I would think of it as someone who's deeply wanting to engage more in Odissi, right? I think when we use this word senior, it's someone who has, you know, made it their life's purpose to go as deep as possible. So that's how I define senior practitioner. So this is something that I think I've heard in seminars and people have asked me, and I realized that I don't have any conflicted idea about this. I'm very, very comfortable in this. So when we use this word classical purity, like I have given this deep thought, it's like a language. So Odia is a language, Tamil is a language. So it's a particular way of expressing. For example, when I express in English, certain words which I feel may not convey a deep meaning. Like, you know, we have a word in Tamil called kanavan. The one is in my heart. So when you say husband, it's not exactly the same. So for me, classical purity is just a vehicle. So a language which has got a particular style and energy, and, you know, just a single word can convey something. So that for me is the Odissi language. So that I'm very clear. And if I'm engaging in it for so many years, you're using this word senior practitioner, that means I love it. That means I see value in it. So I'm not trying to again run away from it. Then this idea of, I think, contemporary,
Contemporary interpretation.
Contemporary interpretation, I think, is what is happening in all our lives currently, right? So we live in a particular century. So the thought process or the challenges or even what was floating in society or what was being relevant in that society, it changes according to every century. So for me, I feel I have a very strong language, the language of Odyssey. Then I am living in a particular world right now. And so what are the things which I want to experience or I see others experiencing, or I can even connect to someone who experienced it, because many of Ashtapadi's things are relevant even today. This feeling of love, this feeling of longing. It's not just because it was in that century that it doesn't have a relevance. So it's very simple. A beautiful language is there. So then what do I want to convey through this beautiful language? So I don't really see it as both are polar opposites, because I feel many times people talk like, tradition and innovation are, totally opposite, but I don't understand if a language is there, then what thoughts are there? Of course, what is relevant, relatable, you can think of it in any way. So that for me, a balance is very internal, because what we experience in the world today is of course very individualistic. But I'm very, very comfortable, and I never ever think like, am I veering away from the classical tradition, because I already know I love it. I'm trying to explore more. I mean, I'm just a very small speck. So, masters have created so many things. So how can I feel that I need to go totally away from it? In fact, the mind thinks, how much more deeper can I go into it so that I can connect with it?
Yeah.
So the balance is effortless for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't struggle at all.
So that's how even I also feel that.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah, completely, because everyone's interpretation is also different too.
Yes.
But the language is the same.
Yes.
It wants to convey the same thing, and everybody's experience.
And isn't it amazing that we could be from different states?
Yeah,
but
but
we
we can
speak the
relate.
common language through Odyssey.
Yeah.
So I feel that's really amazing.
That's how the medium of communication is through body language and enactment. So that's how, yeah. So next question.
Yes.
In your journey as a dancer and choreographer, which aspects of Odissi have challenged you the most? And how have those challenges shaped your artistic vision?
So I don't know whether my answer may relate to a lot of people who are maybe born and brought up in Odisha, but I feel that my words will really resonate with Odissi practitioners who maybe did not grow up in Odisha. I spent many years of my life growing up in Singapore, and now I'm based in South India. So I also recently did my master's in Srishu University under the guidance of my Guru Ratikan Mohapatra. So I feel the natural aspects which maybe dancers here take for granted, which is an exposure to literature, which is an exposure to the music, which is exposure to, of course, seeing many dancers dance in something authentic. So when we use the word authentic, I feel it is connected to the culture of the people. Again, because I have a background in Bharatanatyam, I know very confidently that there are gestures in Bharatanatyam which really reflect the culture of the state. For example, South Indians, I don't know whether I'm coming across that way, but they're very vibrant, they're very confident, maybe they're very dynamic. So this, this comes this way,
Yeah.
right? So when I'm based in a state where I see things like this, the eyebrows raised and everything, when you come to Orissa, you notice that people talk very differently. When I see sometimes people coming to meet my guru, it happened even yesterday, when they asked me to take a photo also, Didi, could you take a photo? So the gesture is very understated, because I feel that people have a grace and an elegance. So in my mind, I feel over the years, I have really thought about this deeply, because we are not interested in doing cultural appropriation. We are interested in doing cultural exploration and appreciation. So the challenge is, I'm not based here, but how can I still stay connected to this state? Because obviously there will be a lot of pride of those practitioners here, so I don't want to hurt any sentiments of anyone. So there is a social responsibility, we use this word. I call it a cultural responsibility, which I'm very happy. I'm very happy to follow, but it requires a lot of, research on my part, observing people, asking my guru really open things. So that I feel how it has guided my artistic vision is, it has allowed me to kind of choreograph or teach my students with a lot of observance. I don't know whether, like I'm saying, it's only my own personal opinion. People may take it for granted here. But when I'm learning an item, I really watch out for what are those defining movements and what are those defining body language. We use this word body language because body language is guided by mind. For now, if I am coming across as passionate in this interview, my body language will reflect that I'm interested, my body is forward. So that means there's a certain emotion and an idea in the mind. The mind is guiding me. So a real obstacle or maybe challenge has been, how do I capture that? But artistic vision then becomes very clear, because unless you're clear in your mind that you want to go in a particular way, then you can't execute it. So which means when you teach your students, when you choreograph an item, you lay it out to them very clearly. For example, recently I performed in the festival with the team from Temple of Fine Arts Coimbatore. I had to really give a brief, it's the whole WhatsApp group is called Being Part of Guruji's Festival. Then I told them, we are here to give back to the mother state. We are learning, and we are based in South India. So then we need to be authentic. When they watch the first item, they should not feel, oh, these people have come from South India. Now there is no connection to Odisha, which I see sometimes practitioners here feeling. So then your artistic vision is very clear. Do not hurt the sentiments. In fact, you share with them something that you find beautiful. So obstacles and challenges are there, but it also allows you to focus and really refine your artistic vision.
Okay. So, fourth question. Today's younger generation is exposed to multiple dance forms and digital influences. How do you see their response to Odissi, and what can be done to deepen their engagement with this form?
The questions that you have asked me until now, Pritisha, they are very much had to do with my own perspectives, my own ideas, or the values in which I'm guiding my journey in Odissi. But I think the second you move to society at large, the second that you move to practitioners and younger practitioners who have their own mindset, and they may not have grown up with the form of Odissi that I'm used to, I think I become a little bit more cautious. And I think it's also fair to see that I don't have the answers. This is a conversation that I have with my colleagues very often in Temple of Fine Arts. I think it cuts across Odissi, Bharatanatyam, Kathak. I don't think so at that moment it is divided by any particular art form. All of us who have grown up, we are now struggling means we don't have answers. So when you have exposure to many art forms, I feel it's got its good and its bad sides. For example, because I have engaged in Bharatanatyam, I've done my masters, I'm really able to say with a very clear focus that these are the elements of Bharatanatyam which, doesn't reflect in Odissi. So a little bit of clarity comes. But when I look at students who feel that it's good to engage in many art forms, again, we're talking about a language. If I really speak in a language that is not recognizable to you as Odia, does it really make sense? Then why do you call it Odia? So these doubts I have, and I like what you were mentioning, our internal balance is very, very different. Second thing, when it comes to digital influence, I've been thinking about this because I'm definitely someone who watches a lot of YouTube videos, Instagram, because I get easily inspired by artists. But I feel that many times, like even I'm sure you would have seen your reels, people are just relating, or they are focusing on the moment when you have, broken the bow as Rama.
Yeah.
But before that, there is a build-up, right? There are the other kings and they are very arrogant. And then Rama seems very elegant in comparison to the king. So I feel that the digital influences, I am a little bit nervous because I feel the graph is not being built, which we see in a normal expressive abhinaya. So the goal is to create rasa, which means something goes into something, something goes into something, and then finally you feel an element. So today we are so used to 1 minute reels, we are used to 30-second reels. So it feels like a dopamine hit. You are feeling an emotion, but it is not really in relation to something else. So then I find that the audience that comes to watch a program, they don't seem to go along the journey with you. They're constantly looking for high points. It's like almost like you have to, I don't really feel a pressure, but I can understand that it's difficult to create a rasika because day in and day out, they are seeing something which gives them a hit. But dance is not like that, no? The beginning, the pallavi is slow, then it builds up, then the tiha is mind-blowing and you wonder, how did the choreographer even come up with that rhythmic composition? So I think we need to really look into two ways. When you are exposed to multiple styles, are you confident and do you have love for your own style which you choose to practice? Or do you feel better when you assimilate everything in the name of fusion? If so, why? Is there something that you feel is lacking in your art form? So how much deeper do you need to go? Then we really need to understand the digital influence is not only for artists. I feel like sometimes we have a separation between us and the audience, but we are dancing for an audience, right? So then are we understanding that digital influence is shaping the mind of a rasika? And isn't that dangerous? Because ultimately what they want, will we start going in that direction? So this is something that I don't have an answer for, but I'm constantly thinking about it because I want to be an Odissi practitioner for many years, so I can't live in isolation. I'm hoping one day I will get more answers.
No, I completely agree because nowadays the younger generations, the Generation Z.
You are a
I
younger
am.
generation
I am.
yourself.
Yes. I am just I am the starting point of Generation Z. First few years, which is also the transitional phase. So I can connect to the previous generations also plus the coming generations, but I can understand that the digital influence on us mainly how it is like the dopamine hit about what you said. Though the positive side of it, if we can say that it those 30-second reel might lead to someone taking admission in a
Absolutely agree. Or coming for a
or
program.
coming from a program.
Yes.
So that particular just to interest them. So it's becomes easier than going and giving posters house to house.
Absolutely.
Everything
Totally
giving
agree.
advertisement. It's just and in the touch of the fingertips. You can just do it. So it's the positive side, but yes, again, the graph what the choreographer has built, that patience, I think the audience still has to figure out.
Yes.
Like how to maintain that patience to understand the rasa. Because nowadays, they are, the generation, this younger generation is very much confused with their own emotions.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Totally
which is,
agree.
yeah, because of that, they're losing patience. So what happens that is being reflected in whatever they do. That's why they scroll too much information to take.
Yes.
Without even asking. They get too much of information and that's why they feel that it's very common. But when they get in their head that it's not common, we have to work for it, then I think systems might change.
Yeah, so I think it's a positive and negative.
Yeah.
And I think both of us are navigating it.
Yeah.
Every single artist today
yes.
is navigating whether how can they use this digital influence in a good way, but also how do you manage the influence which is not so positive.
Yeah.
So life.
Correct.
Basically
Yes,
life.
yes, life. Okay. Next question is, what role do institutions, gurus and repertoires play in ensuring the continuity and credibility of Odissi in the present times?
Continuity. So I think this is something very individualistic. Today it's become like, how do I explain? I will again have to reference my experience many years ago that, at one time it was very easy to understand the benefits of being an artist. It felt like the satisfaction that you get. Then, the joy of practices, these were the benefits themselves. But today the world is very crowded. Like you said, the word visibility, it has become sometimes more paramount than your own experience. So this really makes me question sometimes when students join and automatically, I'm sure Srijan would have faced it, they want to do their Manch Pravesh immediately. So you really wonder what is it that is motivating them. And a light thing you wonder, the performance is very important. But at the same time, your experience, like when you recently, took on the role of Duryodhana, the process that you went through, and you're wondering whether you can do it, then you're exploring, then you're getting feedback. So that has definite value, and that is not something that the audience can see or anybody can see except yourself. So today, I do not feel that it can be like how it was in my guru's time, where I just watched them and I imbibed, and because they were so involved in dance that, I just knew that it has got a value. I absolutely do not believe in that. Many times I tell my students, if you see a great guru or a dance teacher, you have to do pranam. Now, this is not something which my generation had to be taught. So I now take responsibility that it cannot be only through showing, because they can see me, but it's not registering. That I need to be very vocal and not in some preaching way. I have to talk about, I really love to be in Odissi. Like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say, no, I'm not going to do this interview, or why my work will speak for itself. You can't live in that kind of world now. You need to actively share with people the beauty of your thing. You have to be really proactive today. That's what you mentioned now. Unless you put that short reel, they may not even step into the auditorium. So the roles of gurus, repertories, good performances, and teachers who talk about the value. You now really cannot say, watch me and understand. That is already gone, because there's so much of information. So it is not only sharing, I think it is putting it across to students in a particular way. That, you're so used to instant gratification, but your journey in dance, I always tell my students, it is you who's restricting Odissi to 20 steps. If you can just put a little bit of hard work and go beyond that, then the beauty of Pallavi and Abhinaya will open to you. But unless I share with them that, they are not going to always think that, Akka has told this, so there's something beautiful that awaits me. There's something beautiful that awaits me. So that's the role of continuity, that you need to be the most vocal representative of your art form, because others don't automatically see the value, and you have to do that proudly.
Yeah.
If you are not proud to be a dancer, whenever I'm introduced in society, I'm very proud to say I'm an Odissi dancer. I don't have this feeling like I should have been an accountant, I should have been a doctor. I feel, okay, I'm one of the creative forces in society, humbly, but I'm proud as such. So continuity is you have to make people see a value which they may not see yet. You're taking them on the path. In a few years' time, they will see the value, but you need to create what I call a tribe. Number of people who feel the same way of you, and it need not even be in the same institution. Srijan, Temple of Finance. We are very allied in many ways because Guruji, of course, and Swamiji. But we are not from the same institution, but we speak the same language of Odissi, and we know that we need to be proactive. So continuity, everybody has to work together. Nobody is a competitor. It's not like the viewership for classical dance is so much that we can afford to compete with each other. Credibility is portraying the art form in a way that doesn't bring disrepute. This is a very loaded conversation. But it should not be something that people say, what's happening here? It should not be something that cheapens the art form. But I do accept that this is very individualistic. But continuity is important. Credibility is an internal barometer.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, as a choreographer, how do you approach creating new works while remaining rooted in the grammar, music, and aesthetics of Odissi?
So I'll have to use this word effortless because I haven't really created so many original works in Odissi. I think only last year I created Mrityunjaya, my first solo work. So I really can't say that I've created so much. But I've of course taken my guru's thing and done it in a group format. So there is some experience in that. I have to use this word effortless again. I never struggle and wonder whether something that I have done, very rarely do I wonder whether something is going across the grammar of Odissi because I feel I'm constantly trying to stay in touch with it. So there is a natural cautiousness. And I have never choreographed, even when I do semi-classical pieces, have never choreographed something saying I want to be different. This I can see. And I feel the day that I start doing that is, I'm still growing. So there is no amazing thing, but I feel there'll be a decline the day that I start doing things to be different. Rather, there is something, like whatever I have done, there's always a concept or a particular God that has really moved me. And then my mind constantly works on how can I use music? How can I find lyrics that really kind of, match with what I'm saying? And then the language in a background when I'm choreographing, I keep it as a background. I definitely do not say I need to be very in line with Odissi and can I do it like that? Just to give an example, recently when I choreographed something in Mrityunjaya, I wanted to portray Shiva as someone who is without rules, because the song says he lives in the smashana. So then I really did think, can I do this? The hand is straight. In Odissi, we are so used to curves. Then I thought, but this is someone who is going beyond the rules, right? So it's not like a normal god like Vishnu or Brahma and gold jewelry. It's not like that. So then you think, okay, it is not outside the graph of Odissi. It is now going according to characterization. So as of now, it has been effortless for me. Maybe as I choreograph more, I'll have to be more cautious. But always the constant thought is the intention. If you're going to talk about Hanuman, what does Hanuman mean to you? How does Hanuman appear as a character? And then always, what do you want the audience to feel? And then we speak in the common language of Odissi. So effortless. I hope it continues like that.
Yeah. I have watched Mrityunjaya. I think the second time I watched it,
During
was
the festival.
during the festival. And obviously the dancers also have a Bharatanatyam background.
Yes.
And it was very interesting to see that how they embraced the art form and their body languages, because both the art forms have their different aesthetics
Absolutely.
and techniques, because Bharatanatyam is quite straight
Held.
and this is more rounded and everything. But the dancers effortlessly just blended into the thing. And what you said, we from Odisha didn't actually feel that they were anyone from the south. And we really felt, yeah, and we really felt that they are like any other Odissi dancers who are based in Odisha. And because they have embraced it so well, and your choreographies have blended into the item, and it's a masterpiece. Mrityunjaya, yes, because I've watched it 2 times, and I would want to watch it a lot more of times. Next question. How important is interdisciplinary dialogue with music, literature, yoga, or contemporary thought in shaping the future trajectory of Odissi dance?
So I think contemporary thought is I think the last line. The first part is interdisciplinary. So in this, I think a lot of inspirations I have, including Ratikhanji for sure. I have very early in my artistic journey, I understood that to really create a rasa in the audience, a lot of things really play an importance. The lyrics are very important. For example, Mrityunjaya was choreographed totally on the words of my spiritual guru, Swami Shantanand Saraswati. So then that forms a background. Then you really immediately think, okay, his words are amazing. They are so profound and they're so deep. And then you really need to then go back to a lot of spiritual literature. When he wrote this, what did you mean? So that's the role of literature. I think literature gives you, sometimes I think we just take it very face value. I think my experience in Sri Sri University with Sri Rahul Acharya, what is the idea when a particular composer, when he composes a song, what time period did he live under? What was already his spiritual affiliation? Which means like Nimbarka school, or we have different schools of Vaishnavism. So I really feel that literature allows me to go into the mind of the composer and the lyrics. What one of my teachers, Guru Dr. Padma Subramaniam, will say that your job is to take the lyrics, but also understand what century was it written or what was the mind of the choreographer. It's not that you wrote the lyrics. If you write the lyrics, then you know what's in your mind. But when you take a particular abhinay, it has been written by someone who has a particular feeling, which is why those words came about. So for me, literature, lyrics, sahitya, they are the backbone in any abhinay piece. Recently, when I did Jai Bajrangbali Hanuman Chalisa, see, I have to be absolutely respectful to the voice of Sant Tulsidas.
Yeah.
It was written in a period, and it really revolutionized this idea of a personal God across India, Awadhi language and Sanskrit. So he wanted to reach the common man. So that means Hanuman is someone that is very relatable to the common man, is how he has done it. It's a personalized God. Now I can't do something else, put anime into it. I can't do all these things. Sant Tulsidas was operating from a particular thing. So I take literature very seriously. I have a particular few sources that I go back to. I always refer to it. And that for me is connecting and being respectful.
Yeah.
If I want to do something, I can write it. So that's the role of literature. I feel it's the intention of the piece.
Okay. So now we are almost reaching the last question. So with the growing presence of artificial intelligence in creative and academic spaces, how do you perceive AI influencing Indian classical dance, particularly Odissi, in areas such as documentation, pedagogy, choreography, and global outreach, while preserving the soul of the tradition?
So this is a very deep question. I've told you, anything that has got to do with me, I can very confidently answer. But when it comes to something like how is someone, the whole community or fraternity going to use AI, I think it really depends. It really depends on how some people want to use it, whether they feel it's something negative. So I will definitely only answer in a personal viewpoint. For me, AI has not in any negative way affected me as such. I would say that I'm quite comfortable saying that it takes away a lot of this stuff, a lot of the areas which used to be very time consuming. Today you can do lesson planning, you can do it faster, you can give a prompt which allows you to plan something better. But I think where the comfort, and as of now it is still effortless, is I understand that it is me who is working through and trying to make my life easier. So when you talk about global outreach, I have met content creators. I'm genuinely not one of them because I'm not so interested, who say they outsource their their social media posting to AI. To me, it's a plus because we want to be seen and heard, but we don't really necessarily have the time or that interest. We would rather devote that to practice. So it's a plus.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on how you use it. If your intention is good, if your intention is something that you want to really communicate, then you take any shortcut that comes your way. But, if it is going to be something that writes all your scripts, then tomorrow, this impromptu interview, it cannot. If I am someone who is only depending on AI, I will never be able to articulate my thoughts because it will not be me. I'm not used to expressing. So how I feel it can really help is even from lesson planning to even social media. I've not used it very much, but I'm very comfortable in saying I use it a lot. I even use it, I would go as far and say that other than being Odissi artist, there is a daily life that we lead. So sometimes that's time consuming as such. So when you simplify that, then you have more time to spend on your art. So my engagement with AI is in a very healthy way. Wherever I can, for example, a proposal for a grant, AI can very much help in that, no? So it allows people who may not already have an expressive ability to just depend on AI a little bit, and at least it levels the playing field. How it negatively impacts, I haven't seen that yet, and I feel I will not also explore it very much because I'm trying to explore here. So I think this question is relevant for me, but I don't see it as a threat as of now.
Yeah, but I think that AI mostly will help in the paperworks and
Yes,
everything. The
absolutely.
theoretical aspects more, but it cannot take a place for the practical aspect of dance.
Yeah, the
I can't see
creativity.
it.
The
Yes.
creativity. For
Yeah.
example, when you do Odia Ramayana, there are so many characters. Maximum you can say, can you just give me a little bit more research on this thing?
Yeah.
But that also you have to fact check so
Again,
much. A
theoretical.
little bit of help on, okay, can I go to this resource? This is available. And finally, what you portray on stage, it's you, right? You who's thinking as, you know, Jata, you who's thinking as Rama. So as of now, I'm not sure how others in the fraternity think. It is helping me to reduce a little bit of time that is spent on theory. Practical, I'm only going to execute.
Yeah. So basically, real intelligence is also required in order to process artificial intelligence.
Amazing punchline. Absolutely.
Okay, it was really lovely talking to you about your experiences regarding Odissi dance, and it has definitely given me as a younger dancer more insights to how will I want to see it and how I would want to incorporate even more discipline in my practicing of this art form. And thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed. I think when we talk like this, because this doesn't happen in a normal class, I think we also think like these are things which have already been running in my mind, but maybe it has not really crystallized. So today I feel I'm also really more clear about my role as an artist, and it also clarifies what you want to do.
Yeah,
more.
definitely. It's all intentional, and that's what. And it teaches us also how and why actually at the first place we started this. And in order to become consistent in something, we have to continuously remind ourselves that why we have started it at the first place. So yes, ଚିନ୍ମୟ ଅପାଙ୍କୁ ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଆଉ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ କି ଆପଣ ଏତେ ଧୈର୍ଯ୍ୟ ରଖିକି ଆମ କଥା ଶୁଣିଲେ। ତ ଆଜି ପାଇଁ ଏତିକି। ନମସ୍କାର।